spend all the money and time it takes to get a drain tile system set up on your farm, don't forget about the maintenance. These little things can make everything work so much better.
You know, I kind of think of it just like in our entire country here. It's one of our biggest problems, I think, is everybody wants all this stuff and they spend all the money, they get all this nice stuff, and then they don't take care of it afterwards. And with drainage tile, you got to start thinking about this as a 60 to maybe even 100-year investment on your farm. And if you do a great job taking care of it, it very well could last that long. So we wanted to run through just some maintenance tips today.
Well, first of all, you need to set up a maintenance schedule for your farm and map out where all your outlets are so you can keep track of things and go around to see them on a regular basis.
Yeah, we talk about this regular basis. I was discussing this with my dad when we first started laying tile on our farm, and he said, well, it's really important that you guys map out where all the outlets are and you go inspect those. I want you out there every month. And I said, Dad, no way, I'm not checking them every month. But I said, I'm willing to do it every 3 months. And he said, okay, that's probably a good idea. So on our farm, we've got a quarterly inspection form, and we've got all of our outlets on a spreadsheet. Now, if you have inlets on your farm, you would want to do the same thing there. Put all the inlets on a sheet too. But we've just got a sheet. We've got them all numbered 1 through whatever it is, 100. And we just make sure that every single one of those is checked off, that we've got those things open.
Okay, well, the big thing on the outlets, what are you looking for? What kind of things can go wrong? And where do we start on this maintenance checklist? Because really, you need to list all the things that you're going to be looking for so we don't leave anything out.
Okay, so the first thing you want to look at is there dirt filling up this outlet? What happens a lot of times is we're going into a ditch or possibly even a creek or something like that, but there will be dirt that will kind of flow in around that pipe, especially when there isn't water coming out of the pipe. So in each spring especially, that's when we'll go in and just by hand, we'll just clean out a little bit of dirt. I just did some here the other day where I just had to reach in probably 3 or 4 inches into the tile line, and just by hand I pulled out a little bit of dirt. Now everything is set and ready for the season. The other thing on the outlets, you want to make sure that your rodent guard is secure, that it is still working and in place. Make sure that's taken care of, because you don't want some great big animal climbing up into your tile, bringing a bunch of residue in there and clogging up your tile that way. You got to make sure that's open and make absolutely sure your rodent guard is in place and working.
One of the common questions that we get is, can you use a steel pipe? Do you need a steel pipe? Should you have a double-walled solid pipe that's the end of your outlet? And really, it's up to you how you want to do things and what you want to use on your farm. What are we doing, Brian, on our farm?
Well, we're doing just about everything in our operation. I would say this: if you've got a situation where somebody might be stepping on it or livestock are there, anything like that, you want to put double wall tile on the end. You're much safer to have that. The other thing is you want to have non-perforated tile going through any grassy area, along any trees, things like that, and almost overdo it on your farm. In other words, if there's a tree that's 100 feet away, you say, well, that ought to do it. The tree's only 70 feet tall, but I like to figure double the size of the tree. So if the tree is 70 feet tall, I want to be 140 feet away from that tree just to make sure I'm safe. Otherwise, I've got to have non-perforated tile running through there, and possibly even double wall tile, because some of those tree roots get pretty strong and could actually puncture through. So you just want to make sure you do what's right for your farm. And you know what? If you're doing tile work yourself, you can always fix it if you've made a mistake. I'm not going to say we're perfect on our farm. We got a few things we need to go back out and correct now, but as long as you're out there inspecting every 3 months, you should be able to find out where the problems are before they get to be major issues.
In addition to just looking at the outlets and the inlets, there's one of the big things that often gets overlooked when it comes to maintaining tile, and that's compaction out in your field. When you've got compacted layers above your tile lines, your tile isn't going to work properly. Water isn't going to be able to move down through the soil like it should. So make sure you're checking for compaction, do some deep tillage where need be, and change some production practices as well. If you're doing things, you're continuously compacting that ground, change some things on your farm. It may be as simple as changing your tire pressure or your tires on your tractors, maybe putting on duals instead of single wheels or tracks instead of wheels, something like that, to reduce the pounds per square inch. With the same tractor, you can move from 18 pounds per square inch to 6 pounds per square inch just by putting more rubber out there so you have more surface area touching the ground. So just do some of these simple things on your farm, but make sure you're looking for those compaction issues and preventing them up front.
The last and probably the most important thing is you just want to make sure your tile lines are in good shape. So in other words, you may have a spot where things become disconnected if you've got two lines that were hooked up. You may have an area where for whatever reason that tile gets smashed. You just want to do what you can as you're going through the field during the year to see if you've got any problems out there. And if you own your own tile plow, it's real easy to add a little more tile, to add on an extra line if necessary. Do what you can to make sure things are working. Otherwise, it'll probably show up on your yield monitor if you neglect these things over a period of years. So those are all really important things when it comes to maintaining your system. We believe it's one of the most important things that you can do when you're investing all that money in tile.
The other thing you need to watch for when you're out checking your fields is weeds like our Weed of the Week. We'll show you how to control it coming up next.